Yes, please. We are recording.
Okay. As a preliminary matter, this is Rob Benchley. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Caroline Ellis. No. Mary Will. Not yet. Angus McLeod.
Here.
Clement Durkees.
Here.
Rob Benchley is here. And I see we have Lynn Filipsky and Joe Topham. Nice picture, Joe. This open meeting of the Sconset Advisory Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement for the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to encourage to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda material for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting most likely will feature public input. For this meeting, the Sconset Advisory Board is convening a video conference via the Zoom app is posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Now returning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the list of members, inviting each by name. To provide any comment, questions, or motions, please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public who have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged and speak through the chair. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Having done that, I'll take a motion for adoption of the agenda as printed.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Angus. Second. All those in favor? Angus?
Aye. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
That's all right. Was that Caroline?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry. Clement?
Aye.
Thank you. Angus said yes, and I will do the same. We are now 4. So I guess we're going to start with item number 1, which is 15 Beach Street, Burlingham Trust, for a new dwelling at number 15.
Mr. Chair, can I make a recommendation?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, Angus.
Unless Lynn wants to join for the whole meeting, is it possible for us to go ahead and deal with Gully Road?
It's okay with me.
On me.
All right. Well, then let's. I think Lynn's going to be quicker than any other, so let's do Lynn. I assume this was the North Gully Road. Yes, it is.
Thanks to Lynn. I've put these pictures together for a conversation. I guess I'll just start and say with our kind of comments and emails back and forth and understanding from the DPW, I thought it'd be best for you all as the advisory board of Sconset to weigh in on this area, and we can provide through that recommendations to the DPW director.
Okay, Lynn, do you want to go?
Oh, yes. So I'm Lynn Filipski, the president of the Sconset Civic Association, and we work directly with the DPW on recommendations for infrastructure improvements. We usually give this to Rob McNeil by October, so work can be considered and done over the winter, if not the spring. In this case, we've watched the deterioration of North Gully footpath. And at the bottom last year, the DPW added asphalt and curbing for residences below the footpath because of water runoff. And it's widened the road at the very bottom of the footpath, but it's not really a long-term solution for the walkability of the footpath. And so the Civic Association asked that the DPW make this one of their #1 priorities to fix before someone trips or hurts themselves. And Rob actually said he would like the HTC to weigh in on what the appropriate material would be, because he does not want people pointing fingers at him for choosing something that isn't appropriate or welcome. So we did look at Middle Gully Road, which is the picture on the left, which is brick in a herringbone pattern. Underneath the vegetation on the left, there are actually some cobblestones, and I'm not sure if that's just being let go, but it is your emergency access down to Codfish Park. Now, North Gully footpath is not an emergency use for a vehicle. It was used by a homeowner when they were doing renovations due to the fact that their house is tightly captured at the top of, I guess that would be Broadway. And so we're looking for anything that the HGC would recommend. Rob did not give me a cost of what they were willing to spend. So we're assuming I have no restrictions. So there would be an ideal world that you would weigh in and say you'd like it to be all brick, or you would like some kind of tie-in to make it appropriate for the historic center of town of which this abuts. So the footpath that you see on the right, this is the very top, and it goes by a homeowner, and it kind of coincides with the start of the cliff walk. The rest of that has crushed shellfish on it so that you have a permeable surface. So the only other consideration I would have here is the permeability of the footpath,
Right.
because on it would become icy, first of all, and you want to control the runoff that is going down to Codfish Park. So there could be a combination of cobbles or brick. There could be a combination with a macadam that absorbs water, of which is used quite a bit in villages and towns in situations like this. And the Civic Association, we spoke to neighbors and other people who have a long-term history in the village. It is a beloved sledding and bicycle path as well. But we think it would be advisable to have a handrail for people walking on the steepest parts of the footpath, just like Middle Gully has in the picture on the left. So it is our recommendation that you weigh in and help us come up with a footpath that fits the historic neighborhood is attractive and also doesn't complicate erosion and runoff.
I was thinking, what is that material that people use in their driveways when they want to have some grass coming up through it? It's a like a honeycomb plastic. Just a thought. I'm guessing the brick is going to be pretty expensive. But I think you're right about the runoff and absorption factors. If it's a totally hard surface, impermeable, it's going to run right down into the park.
Which it really does right now with the surface that's there, because it's gently falling apart and has grass growing in this strip, which is about 5 feet wide. You have the option perhaps of narrowing the path to maybe 4 feet. And that would give you more perimeter runoff on either side. You could design something that has places for the water to go down in terms of a drainage system or a gap with a runoff pipe that's buried under a grate in certain parts. The only misleading thing about the photograph on the right is the steepness of the pitch towards the bottom. And it definitely is as steep as the bottom of Middle Gully. But it is not an attractive footpath, and it is used primarily for people going down to the beach or connecting to the cliff walk. So it is very public and much used. So it would be a vast improvement to attack this project with multiple ideas in mind.
Lynn, do you know if I took a quick look. This is Rob. At the bottom, where they put the asphalt in, maybe you could go to a certain point and cut into the not cut into the asphalt, but sort of tie it in with the asphalt, because that looks like that would be tricky to redo with anything else but
Asphalt.
Asphalt. That where it fans out at the bottom. Because I
agree.
agree. Yeah, because it was definitely coming apart and something needed to be done. But so it could go up to a certain point, I would think. And would you say that the handrail would be on that steepest part? Because isn't there a bit of a drop off on the right hand side as you're going down?
I think you want to be careful where you put the handrail if someone's biking or sledding. If it's on the south side of the footpath, you might entangle someone who is going for quite the joyride. So it might be more appropriate to be on the uphill portion of the footpath. But again, we defer to all of you who have a better sense of design and materials. The materials here look appropriate in terms of brick or cobble, but they may not be functional for what the path is. And sometimes you will see a combination where they take a brick and make an S turn throughout a path, but they primarily use a permeable macadam surface. So it gives a nod to the historic nature of what the footpath is without making it historic with safety issues.
Chair, this is Angus. Longtime Sconseters, do we know what the Middle Gully was? Is that cobblestone that is beside the herringbone brick remnants of what was originally used for that path?
This is Rob. I remember when they cobbled it and then they bricked it, and so it is a combination.
Before the cobble was what was there?
Oh boy, it was probably macadam, and then of course it was dirt, but we know that's not going to work. Um,
Somehow the brick looks more natural. Cobblestone is more versatile as far as fanning out or changing the pattern, because the herringbone's kind of a consistent form and shape. I was thinking if there were a combination, maybe a couple of running strips of cobblestone with grass in between, not as wide as a normal driveway, but would actually allow people to walk down beside each other with something hard under their feet and still have a permeable surface, not just with the cobblestone, but especially with the grass on either side and in the middle.
yeah, I do recall that now it's coming back to me. The reason the brick went in was because, well, they wanted to maintain the layout of the road for emergency vehicles, but then there's a problem. If it was all cobblestone, then people were going to twist their ankles on it. So that's why the brick. So it's a combination, I believe, for that matter.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, this is Clement.
Go ahead, Clement. Thank you.
I think in my mind, these are little paths. I go down, I went down there this morning. I go down almost every day. But I think a 3 foot, maybe 4 foot wide path of a macadam would suffice for North Gully. It would be great if the grass would grow in on either side. How they can tie it into the asphalt that's already there, I don't know, because I'm not a paver, but I would assume you could just have it dead end and have grass on both sides, and then the wider part starts. And as for the fencing, I like the little handrail that they show on South Gully or Middle Gully. And it's the one that is on North Gully should definitely be on the ocean side, so that anybody careening down with their bike or whatever doesn't smash into it. And that is at the bottom, the steepest part. So it could go around the curve there at the bottom of North Gully and be just simple and only go as far as is needed for holding on. So I kind of vote for a simple little pathway that is, I don't know if 4 feet wide sounds like 2 people can walk together to me. So, and then we'll have to tie it in at the top when it goes around Gay's house back into the shell of Front Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the idea of a narrow path. The black top seems not the best choice, but if some sort of gray stone or something that would make it gray were embedded in the surface, that would probably give a little bit more grip, which might be nice, but also tone down the darkness. I think it would probably be 10 years before it would start to soften in its color.
Yeah, this is Clement again. Yeah, Angus, I agree with you. When you say macadam, in my mind, I see a nice gray with little pebbles in it. I don't see black asphalt. We have been told that those bus turnouts on Milestone Road are going to get gray, but how long that's going to take, I don't know. But it should be a little gray path, whatever constitutes that, in my mind.
Thanks for clarifying that. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, well, there are some ideas. I'm not sure how to proceed. What's your next step, Lynn.
Rob just wants you to give the recommendation for what the material should be. And then at that point, they would figure out what the cost is and when they would do it. So they're happy to work on the project, but they want total direction from you on what the materials are. Because he feels like he's gotten in trouble sometimes if he's gone ahead to do a project and then people weigh in later saying, I wouldn't have done it that way. So he just wants you to say what you find to be appropriate. And you could define it in two different ways in terms of affordability as well.
So, Mr. Chair, my recommendation, as you all are advisory board members for the HDC, I would recommend that you all would come together for a recommendation to the HDC for them to make that call. And if I need to reach out to Rob to let him know of that process, that's fine. I can do that. But you all are, the arms, if you will, and specifically for Sconset for the HDC. So if he's looking for an actual, recommendation from the HDC, then I would say your recommendation to them first, and then they can make that call to him. That would be my recommendation.
Right. Okay, so we're talking about a macadam with, as it was described, with a handrail maybe on the inside bend.
The east side down at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say how wide. I don't want it to be as wide as what they put in down at the bottom. So I don't know if 3 feet's enough. That red brick looks 3 feet, but maybe it's 4, 3 to 4 feet.
All right, 3 to 4 feet. All right.
How about just saying to match the width of the herringbone? middle
Perfect.
That works.
And also the macadam is gray.
Yeah.
I had one thought. It's, the historical commission weighs in on sidewalks and streets and so forth. It might make sense to get an opinion from them.
All right, that makes sense.
Excuse me, it's Caroline, could I suggest that the material of the handrail be the same as it is on Middle Gully, just so that isn't in question?
Good point.
Excellent point.
Was that cedar or is it like pressure treated?
I think it's cedar. I was there yesterday, but it's all weathered. Do you see, Angus, how it's weathered in?
Or it's fur. It could be fur. Just how it's
good now.
It's chipping there.
But it looks old and it isn't wobbly, but it just looks, you don't really notice it.
Seasoned.
Weathered, yeah.
Seasoned, yeah. Historic.
You can almost see the cobblestones in that, because the grass filled in over the cobblestones on the left of that.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was so hard walking down. It was so dangerous.
So I have an idea for you. I'll just throw this out there. What if you narrow the path to 3 feet, but you allow a cobblestone trim on either side? And that would help with runoff, as well as tie it in historically.
Yeah. That's nice.
You don't want it to get too busy.
Right.
But I like the idea of cobblestones being around, not that you have to stand on them or walk on them, but they make it, that they remind you of so much of what reminds us of Nantucket. That's cobblestone detail.
Excuse me, this is Caroline, but if we narrowed the path, we're talking about North Gully, what if on the upside, which would be west, that were, yes, what if that were cobbled? In other words, where it's made more narrow for a footpath over on, yeah, that side. Could we then, I wouldn't do it up above. I don't think I'd bother Gay's house or the Hollands or anything, but on that upper side as you go down, because then it will keep it will hold the bank, I presume. The cobbles would, and yet it would become vegetated.
Oh, right.
Because this
Down-
up above, this looks very civilized, but down below where the grasses wouldn't be maintained, it's quite a pitch, as we know, up.
Yeah.
And maybe if you put cobbles alongside the macadam or the stones pressed into whatever, maybe then just all that wonderful vegetation would fill in over the cobbles.
Like
Like
it
it has a-
Gully.
Pardon me?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would hold the bank a bit, and it would allow runoff, and it would look natural, I think.
Okay, well, those are some nice ideas. Do we have enough to make a little list to present to the?
Yep.
Lynn, do you want to put a list of the things we said together?
Sure.
And
Do you want me to put it together now and just send it to you by email? Or do you want a more formal?
well, I'm just not sure. I mean, we have to present this to the HDC, so.
Right. Well, I'm happy to put together something more formal that puts together all the things that you have discussed as a group.
Okay,
And then if I send it to you before the end of the meeting, maybe you can revisit it when you finish your other business, or think about it until your next meeting and then present it.
gotcha.
That's up to you. We're just happy to have your involvement in making it attractive and usable. And
Yeah.
because of its site location, it's seen and visited quite a bit. Maybe more than Middle Gully.
Yeah, Lynn, if you would put that together, and
Okay,
I think we need to see it one more time, but before we submit it to the
all right.
larger board at hand, just because other things might come up. And
I'm totally happy with that. I'm
All right.
happy to be on today's agenda, and I really appreciate Angus moving me to the top. So that was very nice. So I will do that. I will leave the meeting with thank you for your input, and the Civic Association looks forward to how this progresses. And, you know, it inherently is a project of the DPW at our request, and we defer at all times to what everyone else decides. We just make recommendations. So thank you.
that'd be great. And as long as you're not going to put a flagpole in it.
No, we keep it very simple.
Okay,
We might
good.
even have cobblestones that you could have from Larson Park, because when that garden gets redone, those cobbles all get dug up around the tree. And there are sources for that, I'm sure, but it's kind of nice to reuse something that's already there. And I will give you a heads up, because you'll hear eventually that we have discussed in a long-term plan about doing cobbles around the Rotary. And Rob is totally on board for this. So be aware that that'll be something probably in the area master plan as an idea, which Caroline will represent you on that. So you will have input there as well.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Now we're going to 15 Beach. There it is.
Thank you, Joe, for waiting. Appreciate it.
No, it's fine. That was that was actually kind of cool to watch. I'm glad you guys are going to do something about those. Been a concern of mine working down in this neighborhood, what was going to happen there. So nice suggestions.
Yeah, definitely a crumbling road.
Yes, and safety first. I like I like the plan moving forward. So this is 15 Beach Street. I have a site plan for you all to see. I apologize about that last time. The structure that is to the right of that, where the 331 square foot cottage was going to go from 15 Beach Street to 9 Beach Street. That fell apart. So we were going to move it to 7 North Gully. That deal fell apart. So now, FYI, we're going to have to demolish that. We have one person that wants to remove it, but it can't go underneath a bridge. And we're thinking that deal is going to fall through, but that's a whole separate thing. I just want to give you a heads up. But anyways, the HTC did review this. They had a lot of similar comments that you all had. It was too tall. So I took out, 2 foot 2 3/4 inches. But the other thing is I'm showing the thickness of a wood roof, which, is 2.5 inches. This is going to be asphalt. So that height will come down at another, 2 to 2.5 inches. So I'm almost at 2 foot 6 of height being removed from the initial design. And the other thing that the HCC asked for is to change the roof pitch. So I had conflicting members, with suggestions. Ray Pohl wanted 11 pitch, Stephen Welch wanted a 10. So I did a 10.5. I figured I'd meet him in the middle. The other part was just to kind of simplify a little bit. So we took off some shutters. The storm door was on the front by door number 1. Was a little confusing, so we took that off. Anyways, it was just a detail that wasn't really necessary, but I'm sure we'll go back at a later date just for the safety of the house. But the homeowners they've lived in Codfish Park for 14 years, almost 14 years now, and have met with almost everyone in Codfish Park that stopping by and has either asked for the plans or have seen the plans, and they really like this design now that's been reduced. So we think that we're trending in the right place. We do want to hear your comments because we're concerned. And also we're up on the HGC, I think tonight. Yeah, and that's all I have to add. So thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Anybody? I invite you to speak if you like. I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. I just have a quick question on the south elevation, Joe. That is that a sliding panel that goes in front of the kitchen windows, or?
It would be. It would be. It is to like the initial photograph I gave you of the 1890 Dory barn that had that detail on there. So it would be a full functioning door. So if a nasty nor'easter or a hurricane came through, that they could slide that. It will be operational.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
As I said, that the only ones down at Codfish Park normally, except for COVID. So the only one that comes in and checks in on them or knocks on their door is the wind. So in the winter.
There's nothing behind that?
No, it's just a wall.
Okay.
And it'd be closed probably for a day and a half.
Joe, this is Clement. I'm sorry to go back to if we could go back to the exact site plan. I walk down there all the time. I'm not, okay, stop right there. Yeah. Now, there was a little cottage. So, walk me through this whole thing again. The one that says house that's surrounded in blue, that is staying there.
Correct.
Is that
Nothing is
correct?
happening.
Nothing is happening to that.
No, Clement.
So this is that little cottage that you wanted to rotate and take the porch off?
No, that little cottage is, I left the bubbling there just to kind of delineate where it was. But if you look, going left to right of the screen, you see the existing house, the new dwelling, then there is Gone Native. And the next roof line you see, thank you, that was their existing cottage. They want to relocate it there, but that deal fell through. So now they're going to do just a simple 1-story little structure. I mean, this is a single story, but not as complicated roof lines. It basically is just going to be an oversized shed, if you will.
So you're telling me that where this new house is going, there's nothing now?
There is that existing cottage that's 331 square feet that was designed by Chip Webster in 2003. And we have tried 3 locations in Codfish Park. I had an application all ready to go for a submittal for your review and the HTC's review. And at 11:30, just before the 12 o'clock deadline, we got an email saying that they were not going to take the cottage, sadly. But we just posted that, we're going to be removing it. And a lot of people have come over and they've taken all the bricks. They've taken the outdoor shower. I think that a lot of pieces from that existing cottage will be removed. But we do have one last person that is talking Toscana today now about relocating it for employee housing somewhere in town, out of Sconset, I believe. That's my understanding. So but the problem with that, Clement, is the height of the structure and the going underneath the existing bridge.
Yeah, to get it out of there.
Yeah, I mean, we tried everything. We had Housing Nantucket, we had Habitat, we've had, you name it, since June. We've been trying to save that little cottage. And
that's,
if it went to North Gully, it was going to be a Zoom room. So
yeah, I'm still, so, okay. I've got the big rectangle that's the house with the blue lines around it, and that's staying. Nothing's
that's staying. We're
happening.
not touching. That's
Not
the
touching that.
existing.
Okay,
Yes.
then we move to where you want to put the new thing.
Yes.
And then if you go even further to the right where there's another blue, that's Gone Native?
That's Gone Native.
Okay. And then if I move further right, you're telling me that that's the little cottage we were looking at to
Yeah,
flip.
and so all
And
last
that's
week.
the one that you're trying to get rid of or can't and couldn't, or?
Yes, we were trying to save it anywhere and everywhere, anywhere on Nantucket.
Okay,
it's
so-
unfortunate it's in great shape, but
And then of course the other blue is the house that's on the corner there. So
that's
I'm
7.
sort of relocating myself.
Yep, that's fine.
So you've got a parking place. And then, so there's, what I don't understand is there's nothing there now where this house is. There has to be something there.
This the 331-foot cottage that's 2 lots over
Is there now?
is there now.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was
That's right.
trying to figure out how all this could fit in. Okay.
It's a lot of moving pieces, and I apologize.
Yeah,
It's very
no,
confusing.
okay. So in that map, what used to be there, you've moved already. Moved.
No, we have not.
Oh, well, you have it now, yeah.
No,
but that's-
Toscana was ready to roll up their trucks.
But that's what the plan is.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this will be totally new structure on the site where that little one was.
Yes.
Okay.
And this footprint, believe it or not, is the same as I think it's the 1920 aerial picture I had seen of the garage that was there. That was then taken down by Iski Santos. Iski Santos put up a garage. Then that was taken down for this 331 square foot cottage. And so we're trying to go back to what's there. And the other part is we'd like to go, we wanted to go back further, but there's an existing septic tank. So that's why we're as forward as we are.
Where you are.
Yeah. So in that white space behind the building where there's lot 66 square feet, that's the septic tank.
Huh. But have you applied to, well, you didn't have to apply to demolish. You had to apply to move the little cottage?
No,
No,
you
it's
do have to. No, you do have to get a demolition permit.
It's a
So,
demo move is how that
A
application
demo
is.
move?
well,
Okay.
I didn't put that in there because I was being optimistic that it was going to be saved,
Okay,
and
I
I'm sadly got shot in the foot on that one.
I know, it's just confusing me. I'm sorry.
No, and I get it. I totally get it. Listen, you know, my bookkeeper's like, "What are we doing now?" So, yeah, because there's been a new client and then that dies, and a new client and then that dies. So it's,
Okay,
and I feel bad for my clients. They really wanted to save the structure and have it relocated. But yeah, yeah, she's very upset and sad.
so these same people don't own the house on the left?
Oh my God.
No, they own the entire property on the corner.
They own the entire property. So
Yeah,
they do
so
own,
that's,
so they
yeah.
do own that house on the left?
yeah,
Okay.
and they've owned it for, I think, 14 years.
Yeah, no, I've
13,
seen
14,
lights on
yeah.
it down there. Yeah. And it's 2-story and it's story and a half.
Story and a half.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean, across the street is what's, I think it's 7. Anyways, it's across, it's got that little pyramidal roof. That house is almost 20, just under 24 feet. So, you know, we're in the range, and so we've been stepping it down. And so, you know, I think that the HCC may want to take another bite of this apple. So,
Okay,
I
Thank
was
you.
gonna mention that, Joe.
oh, Holly, please don't.
Well, I think both Sconset Advisory and the HTC, you're right. They both mentioned the height of their proposed. You did bring it. You did bring it down, but I have notes here from the Sconset Advisory saw this on October 19th, and then HDC saw it on October 20th. And even Commissioner Welch was mentioning that, you know, between the 17, 18 foot range would be appropriate. So I wouldn't, just putting it out there, I wouldn't be surprised if he mentions that when they do get to look at this. Although it is on the agenda this evening,
Yeah.
I'm not so optimistic that they'll get to it. But
He said during the
nevertheless.
meeting, you said 23 to 24 feet, and then Kerry said 24 feet. Yeah. So, yeah, so I was trying, like, walking it down. So,
Yep.
But yeah, no, I hear your comments, and yeah, leave it at that.
Caroline,
Speaking
may I
of
ask a
comments,
question?
Holly, is it possible for you to read our comments from the last meeting?
Yes, Rob said that 27 feet was too tall. You had mentioned that there was no site plan, so that's why Joe has provided that. There was a mix-up with the application. You had said that it wasn't complete, but appreciate the inspiration that Joe provided, and then Mary agreed. So you all really, you did dive into it, but not that much. Joe had provided the history between the Dory barns that were out there between 1890 and 1920 as his inspiration for the 1.5 story.
And just Holly and the chair, I want to say thank you for hearing this, because I know you didn't have the site plan. So those comments were taken, and then it was nice to hear the HCC back you all with those comments.
Rob, this is Caroline. May I ask a question?
Please go ahead. Thanks.
I'd like to know the height of the square in blue. Is this the guest house or is this the main house?
The existing house is, I think I measured it, on the front side is 20'4", and the back I think is 19'9". Memory, I measured in June, sorry.
Isn't there a ratio between a main house and a guest house?
So this will be their main house. Because through the chair to Caroline, most secondary dwellings, they want to keep under 22 feet. So we see the existing house, the 1,023 foot house, as the secondary dwelling. So that's why we've gone this direction. If it was the other way around, we would have definitely been coming in with something under 22 feet. But this is their home. They've been living in that 331-foot cottage. You know, I think they have a hard time even walking by each other without turning sideways or bumping into each other. So.
Chair, this is Angus. I'll take a stab at it. I feel like we're, I appreciate the site plan, of course, thank you. And I appreciate the height dropping. But if there weren't notes about it, I wouldn't be able to tell. It doesn't look like things have changed significantly. And I think that the inspiration from the Dory barn is a wonderful one if it looked like that in its simplicity and its use. And even if you use that as inspiration and it was like any of the other old utilitarian structures that were then converted into houses, you know, I like that train of thought. But this feels much more like house than barn, and it feels much more like guest house or cottage than the primary dwelling. The front, I guess what you would call a facade, it's where the barn doors are, is you know, is saying shed or garage. But then the entry is kind of, you know, tucked away on the side and in the shadows in the back. And then there's this height on the front, and then the flush dormers on the side of it that give it a real verticality. And so I think this needs more than tweaking to make sense of it. It doesn't feel like the main structure if we're talking about the existing structure being the guest house for this. And it feels conflicted of whether it's utilitarian house, guest house, cottage, main house. Like there are cues to all of it, and so I feel like it needs to be really thought out further conceptually. Thank you.
Thank you, Angus. It's Rob. I have a question about the and sort of our Codfish Park policy as far as the Belgian block on the driveway apron.
Can I respond?
Yeah, please.
Belgian block is currently in between the guest house and the main house now. So we were just going to reuse that material.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Joe, and Mr. Chair, I just want to let Joe know this. I don't know if you're aware that that second parking space off of Bank Street received a special permit from the planning board, I think last year or so.
Correct.
And I believe it would indicate what the material was supposed to be. I do know, and I know, I think that's where Rob's going with this, is that Codfish Park, even though the zoning bylaw requires an apron, Codfish Park has predominantly been just shell, and that's something that is trying to be maintained. So I would just refer to that.
That's fine with us.
Yeah, I would just annotate that, but I believe there was a discussion, and I believe it may be annotated in that special permit. I just want to throw that out there for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Holly, for the clarification. I didn't have that information in my head quite so precisely, but that's where I was headed. Any other comments?
Yes, this is Caroline.
Caroline, thank you.
It has to do with the bridge. So it doesn't really have to do, well, I mean, I guess it depends, but with the building that's there. I remember when, that begins with an L, moved their house from Codfish Park, and it's a
Mhm.
huge house.
Yes.
It's where the children's playground is today. And they just took the footbridge down and reassembled it.
Mr. Chair, this is Mary. I can speak to that.
Please do. Thank you.
So Caroline, the people whose name you're searching for, the Lockharts, and it
Right.
was the Lockharts and the Hollings who both moved their houses out of the park after the no-name storm,
Right.
which Rob took such amazing pictures of. They ended up on national news all over the country.
Ah.
Just saying. And or your video did. So that's who was responsible for it. It was quite a while ago, back in the 90s, I want to say. Rob, you can speak to that. And they did have to take the bridge down, the two families. So either Don Hollings or Terry Lockhart could tell you what was involved in that.
I just hate to lose a building that could be used for something else. And I know that you've tried, Joe, in Codfish Park to locate it, but housing's so important. It would be wonderful if it could be moved and used by one of the groups.
Mr. Chair, can I respond?
Yes, please go ahead.
Caroline, thank you. We agree. But last time, well, it's funny, I actually worked for Toscana at the time and helped shore up the Lockharts so that we can get it through another season so that we could line up the removal of the bridge so we could get the houses and structures out of Codfish Park.
Mhm.
But I think it's an expense that is beyond someone's trying to do employee housing right now. And that's the sad part. I wish there was some fund or some way that we could easily remove it. And the other part was like we were going to remove the cottage from 15 B Street to the opposite end, north of B Street. And the builder looked at the cost to relocate the structure and he said, I can get a new foundation and I can get a new frame up for the same exact cost. And he, was kind of value engineered that process, and that's where that deal went dead. So, my clients have asked everyone in the neighborhood if they're interested, and no one has gone on. But the one gentleman that is looking at it, it would be affordable housing. And I think that Toscana is going to give them a price to disassemble the bridge temporarily. And hopefully that all comes in within this price point. But I'm afraid of saying that that's going to happen without getting a confirmation and a signed agreement, honestly, at this point. But we do hear you, Caroline.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
Please go ahead.
it would seem to me that it's the responsibility of the owner of the building to pay to have the footbridge taken down. They're the one that is going to either move everything to the dump or, and I assume pay, or, and I think you've done a great job, Joe, but it just seems to me that the owner of the property should pay to move a building on which they're going to build a very expensive building. I mean, doing the footbridge must be so minor compared to building a whole new building today. That's just my comment.
So go ahead.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Joe.
So the price to knock down the structure is not cheap. It's quite eye-watering when I got the number. I think it's just the staring at Caroline and they're on a budget. They do live on Nantucket. One is a bookkeeper for a contractor and her husband's a realtor. So it's something that it's not endless money. There's no pot of gold. We wish there was a fund to save this kind of thing, but there just isn't. And it's a price that they can't afford. That's why they were trying to give away the house. They were, had the last deal was for free. There was no money transfer. They were just like, here's the free home. They've tried everything to get this existing structure saved. And we hear your comments, and they battled with it as well. And they are quite saddened that it will be removed. So, and the demo, that is something that price that they will, but you'd be amazed if I told you the number, and I won't say it on TV, but it's a lot.
Mr. Chairman, it's Caroline.
Go ahead.
But how does that compare to just removing the footbridge for a few hours?
Well, that's what I'm hoping. Sorry, through the chair. We're hoping to get a number back from Toscana within today, tomorrow. They did the first removal of the bridge, so they have a pretty good understanding of how it was taken apart and put back together. Hopefully they thought of, going forward that this should be removed just in the event of emergency, or, the erosion kept coming in Codfish Park, but thankfully it's been at a slight pause for a while. So once I get that number, I guess it's a number we can look at, but and that was something that I know that my clients are not going to want to pay. But if the gentleman that's interested in it and wants it for employee housing, then then I'll come back to you, or I'll just remove the demo and I'll come in and just say we're relocating it to whatever location in town area. So.
Mr. Chair, this is Mary.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Since we're talking economics, all of this that we're talking about is to build a one-bedroom house. I did notice that on one of the schematics, it looks like there are basement windows. We don't have a basement plan. I'm assuming there isn't a basement because we haven't talked about that at all, but I'm looking at one of these, I think it's the Cottage West elevation, and there are some basement windows being shown. That's the only way that in my mind that this becomes economically viable, is to have a basement with bedrooms in it, because otherwise they're building this entire new house with a one bedroom structure.
So through the chair,
Yep.
right now, one of the windows closest to the street is going to be eliminated. So we'll just have one window well. But right now, there's a plan to do something because we want to be forward thinking. But right now it's not within the budget. They are going to do the one bedroom. This is all they can afford. And this is why, kind of come to a simpler structure, trying to keep that very simple elements, not detailed. Sorry. Sorry. So that's why we kind of went in this direction. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I had a question for Joe about this north elevation. You changed out the 2 single windows for a picture window.
Yeah, please go ahead. Thank you.
So the purpose of that is originally we had the bedroom on the east side of the structure. And when we lowered the ridge 2 foot, over 2 feet, we decided because of space, made more sense to put the bedroom on the back. So this G window will be above their headboard. So, and then the other part of it is we spoke to the neighbor to the north, and they were concerned about their views and vice versa, looking back and forth at each other. So this was a way to keep each homeowner's privacy, if you will. So that's why that window is the way it's configured. It was something they talked about. And that's why the other part is going back to the site plan, the parking that was in between the 2 structures is now gone to the east side of the property. And what that's going to create is a green space. So when the neighbor to the back looks out her second floor deck, she just has this sight line, no cars, it's green, trees, so that's why we did that program. So we've been working with all the neighbors, and so far quite successfully. And so that's why we've done what we've done.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody else? I mean, we've definitely got some good comments here. Any further comments from the board? And Holly, I'm assuming you jotted down some of our ideas.
Yes, I mean, you all are talking more about, I think Angus gave a good architectural description. I think everybody else is mostly talking about the economics of losing that other structure, but the height, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I was going to ask, this is Clement, Mr. Chairman, can the height be lowered again?
I have some tricks up my sleeve that I don't want to tell you yet. No, we definitely could do some more finessing, and I just had a hard conversation this morning with my client about if that does come forward, what are some options, and so she's taken under advisement. I want to hear your comments, and then what I'll do is circle back to her to kind of let her know where we're at, what the thoughts were, what your comments are, and then trying to be prepared for the HTC comments to have some plan prepared, ready to go forward. Would like to, they'd like to start construction ASAP, but that's not your concern. It's just they're getting excited.
Well, this is Clement again. I just know that so many of our discussions about Codfish Park are to keep the low level, low profile of it as much as possible.
And thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Thanks for coming, Joe.
No,
Okay,
thank you for having me.
Go.
Take care all.
Yeah, and thanks for answering all those questions.
No problem.
You've done a lot of work.
Great advice, so thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair, so I wanted to let you all know, yes, 5 Blackfish is on your agenda. The commission is actually tracking the new dwelling, guest house and the pool cabana, which you all didn't have any concerns on when you looked at it. But that's why it's on your agenda, because it's being tracked with the main house. Basically, everything's being tracked together. So really, I would recommend your comments on the new dwelling, which is what you had comments on, and the garage is what you also had comments on as well. So I will get those out for you. That's the garage and main house.
Holly, while you're pulling those up, were there changes to the other structures that we reviewed and didn't have issues with?
No, they, as far as my understanding is, no, they're only being tracked with.
Thanks.
So here is the new dwelling. So there's a,
Holly, this is Mary. Can you remind us what we said on the new house,
yes.
the main house of this?
So there was a lot of conversation about, it didn't look like a 1.5 story. There was also a conversation about the fact that the garage and the main house, the garage is in front of the main house.
Oh, yeah.
And then the front door was not symmetrical.
Right.
The main house and then the garage. HDC didn't really have concerns on that, so to speak, nor the asymmetry. There was a conversation from the HDC's perspective about this dormer, making it more elongated This might be what they've done. So here are the revisions. Yeah, making it more centered.
What'd they do? They centered the dormer, that's it.
Yep.
By about a
Oh, there
foot.
they are.
You won't see that because of the garage.
The garage is supposed to be right in front of it, yeah. And then there was a conversation about the front door with the side lights. So I believe that's a solid slab, 6-pane panel, I should say, with the side lights all the way down to the ground is what it looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
And to the left, Holly, is what we liked. Which
The
was-
left is was the previous submittal.
Right. I still agree with what we liked.
I was going to say all my concerns are the same.
Yeah, mine too. I
Yeah.
actually prefer the original door.
I
I
do
think
too.
it looks a little less formal.
It's like a country.
Yeah, I rather like it, actually.
Okay. Even with
Oh, yeah.
just as far as the side lights go as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
That's important to know. Not quite sure. Maybe those are larger windows. And then shed dormer. Reduce the French door in the back.
always a good idea.
Always good.
Especially when it's on the north side.
Uh,
Creepers.
So they can look what into the
Deal.
Bauermeister's backyard. Oh yeah.
Well, they could have been looking at a water tower, so they're lucky.
But they're sliders, aren't they?
I guess so.
That looks like it's got a hinge, right?
Yeah,
Queen
that's
hand.
That's not a
Okay.
slider.
The one down
definitely
That
hinged.
one looks like a slider.
I don't think it should be a slider. Nobody will see it, I suppose.
Oof. Man. No, nobody will see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. The doors are, the front doors are main comment on this.
Well, I think all of our previous concerns about the asymmetry of where the door is in relation to the dormers and the matching of the first and second floor
Mhm.
and the shed dormer on the facade of the house and the garage that is forward of the house.
Mhm.
I don't think that exists in Blackfish.
All right. I think you all had more comments on the garage previously. You all had mentioned that the lot was narrow, but it could be rearranged for the garage to be behind the house. Not to have a shed dormer on the front, very symmetrical with the house, making competing very strong. And then you all discussed about having the garage in front. So my understanding is they're still going with this proposal this way.
Holly, this is Rob. I did I did Zoom that meeting, and I just frankly don't remember what they said about the garage related to our concerns.
Yeah, they really didn't seem to take that much. And it could be also too, you know, Chip, he does a good job about trying to take in what you all say and sympathize and divulge that to the commission. And I think that's what he was doing as well.
Bless you, Rob.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Bless you.
I had to unmute for that one. Or mute for that one.
Yeah, you muted.
Looks like they took that wart off on the side,
Oh, yeah.
which is what you would be seeing right in the front.
That's right.
But now you see these two double hung windows.
This is Angus. I prefer the original. I like the wart. It brings the roof down, and the scale down towards the street.
I like the wart.
I like the wart.
I like the word.
Besides, it'll be a good bike shed. Then they won't be wanting to put one of those on the back of the house after they get all this.
That's a new building.
Let's see for a second
Yeah,
here.
I, as I recall from the meeting, I think they're maxed out.
There was a conversation about that, about their coverage.
This is Rob. I'm going to mute myself again. I'm about to have a coughing attack. I've been working on my windowsills, cutting up red cedar, and I've got some cough stuff. I'm here. You won't be able to hear me.
That will do it. Cedar is horrible for that. So you all like the wart, that uniqueness of the wart.
I do, Mary.
Yeah, I think we all prefer the first rendition.
Yeah.
Do you prefer it because of where it is? We wouldn't care if they moved it to the back, right? Whether they had a wart or didn't have a wart.
I think we prefer that the wart stays on because it brings the roof line down and it adds a little bit of interest to it. But I think we're all in favor of it moving with or without the wart.
Okay.
That would look nice in Codfish Park.
Would. It's too little for Codfish Park.
Don't say that.
Yeah, I mean, if height is an issue in Codfish Park, why would you go 20% bigger than the existing house? Anyway.
I know. If I can just say, not with this application, but others about Codfish Park, that there's this trend going on, and I somehow thought that the people in Codfish Park were sort of agreeing with that. But anyway.
Well, they probably are.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't want us to bog down. We've gone over about 15 minutes. Are we good with this one now?
Yes. Yes. Where are we? So basically, and I'll let the commission know that again, the other ones on here, you all had no concerns on them.
Nope.
They didn't have any changes. So,
Correct.
I guess other business real quick.
Sure.
Okay. As far as I know, 19 Broadway, they have not asked for a final inspection. So that's still pending. Do we have any update on the Marconi station?
No, that's my call today because they're
Okay.
open today.
Not a problem. We'll keep this on as long as you all want it on here. And then the biggest thing for the HDC is our Resilient Nantucket, our design guidelines charrette that we're having on the 14th. This is going to be everybody will meet the other consultant who actually is the hands-on, who makes the design guidelines, has been doing across the country. This is going to be obviously interactive with the public. It's on the Saturday. I highly recommend to participate if you have the time. This is going to be a first phase approach because, of course, as you all know, with COVID, we've had to do everything a little bit differently. So we need to move forward with the time frame with the state. So we're going to be doing that on Saturday and hopefully with a follow-up in the future. So that link is where you'd get on there. If not, you can actually go on and just Google Resilient Nantucket or resilientact.gov.org, excuse me, and it will take you right to that. Any questions, let me know. We also had the map of advisory boards for discussion. I don't know, I don't believe I sent it to everybody. I apologize if I didn't, but the map that I think Clement sent to me, and then I asked our coordinator, GIS coordinator, and he provided it to me in full color with all the different lines. And it sounds like that's the same boundary that you all were discussing with John a few years ago about having your advisory area match.
Yeah, if we could keep this item on the
Yes.
other business for,
What I'll do is I will, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair, I will forward that to you all so you have it. And we'll keep this on. We can have a further discussion when time permits. But that's what it sounds like. You all want to match the advisory board area to the Sconset area plan, which is under the master plan, which they're going to be going through the update process anyways. So
great.
and then a further reminder for those of you that need to do your reappointments, that's coming up soon.
And who is it, Holly? I couldn't find it on the website. I looked.
Okay, everybody's expiration for your appointments are on the website.
But I can't
If
find
you can't,
No,
okay.
I looked, but I can't find it. So
You all have your own page. That's probably why it's not under the HDC.
it is. All I could find was the HDC.
Correct. You can actually, if you looked on, and I'll send you the link as well for that.
Thank you.
Yes. But yes, each advisory board has their own page with all your members and your dates on there. That's where all your agendas and whatnot are also posted. So we already had that discussion.
I sent
That's
mine
it?
in.
Perfect.
I sent mine in.
Oh,
Good to
Rob,
hear.
So good.
You too. Perfect. Good to hear.
Great. And Holly, just one more question.
Sure.
So our camp part 2,
Yes, camp part 2 is this Friday. So thank you
Friday.
for those that, yes, this Friday. Same exact time, same exact link that you got on there before. I'm glad to see you all representative, and I hope you'll be enthusiastic for the second part of it. We've got
That's
great
No, it looks
camp
really-
teachers.
The second part looks really interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, very much
I'm
so.
hoping it'll be interesting enough to draw some of the HTC members. It was nice to see Diane there, but discouraging not to see any of the other HTC members.
Understood.
Holly,
Great. Okay.
Can I ask one question? Don't we have Saturday something?
Yeah, that's the Resilient Nantucket seminar. So we have Friday and Saturday.
Can't do both.
Yes. Yes.
So which which one should we do?
Well, the Friday is the camp training from the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. That'll be day 2 from this past Friday. The Resilient Nantucket is our effort through the MVP grant that we received to create the design guidelines for our FEMA flood areas for the NHL. So this is where that public dialogue is going to be very important, and input from folks that are obviously looking at this stuff, like you all and all the other advisory board and both the commissions as well, to give input. Because of course we all know that elevating a structure is completely different from a Nantucket perspective, but it can be done. So that's the biggest thing. We want to make sure that it's built with Nantucket in mind, right? And essentially this will be an addendum to building with Nantucket in mind. And the work that you'll see that Phil Thomason does is very user-friendly, and that's the biggest draw to his work. So very appreciative on that. I guess we need a motion to approve the comments, Mr. Chair.
I will take that motion from any of the members.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Thank
second it.
you. Thank you. Noted and seconded. I will call the roll. Caroline,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Angus,
Aye.
Clement, and Rob is aye.
Sorry,
And,
I was on mute. I'm an
Oh,
aye.
it's okay. So noted. And then a motion to adjourn.
I'll
So
make
moved.
that, Mary.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Notice that. Thank you. All those in favor, Caroline,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Angus,
Aye.
Clement,
Yes.
Rob is aye. So it's unanimous. Thank you all very much. I'll try not to be coughing so much next time. And good work, everybody. Thank you very